This is the vehicle that I had created for my one of my projects in my 3D animation diploma program. It was meant to be one of the bigger projects for subdivision smoothing, um, and it was also to be used for our um, non-character rigging portion of the content. I'm making this video to show the custom rig that I created, as well as the custom texturing that I did since I've graduated, to enhance it a bit more. The renderings in my portfolio are done with standard UVW mapping and the Autodesk Mental Ray material libraries. Um, my whole portfolio is basically made with those. Since my graduation, I've been spending a lot of time learning the uh, custom texture painting. I knew how to unwrap properly. It was more creating my own spec maps, bump maps, normal maps, that type of texturing that was not uh, my most comfortable skill sets. So I will show the texturing first. So this is the way that the model was when I had submitted it. Um, so for the diffuse map, it would have used Photoshop by default. So this was the diffuse map I had submitted with the model. So when it rendered out, it looked bland and dull. I couldn't figure out why, because we hadn't done very much texturing training at the time. Um, this was just a couple days ago I created a normal map with the NVIDIA filter. This was an opacity map. This would be my specular map. This is my bump map, diffuse for other components. This is my self-illumination map for the gun, normal map for gun and some other components, the spec map, and this is the way that it rendered out with all of those additional maps applied with mental ray, photon lighting, and global illumination. And there's another angle. So it does look a bit off still, just because of the fact that it is mirrored UVW or unwrapping, and also it was meant to be rendered in low poly, so things like this are not lining up right now just because of the smoothing involved, and I didn't change the diffuse texture. It was basically the same one that I had used from being really new into the program. I didn't want to start from scratch, so I just worked with the texture I had to see if I could improve it, and that's what I got out of 3ds Max with the diffuse maps and self-illumination maps in the gun and whatnot. So based on that, let's get into the rigging component of this. So I set it up with a bunch of helpers on a track. So our animation that we did was designed to be on a spline. So I created a point helper that is got a path constraint, and I have a wire parameter set up from the point helper to each of the wheels of these wheel helpers, with a mathematical equation of the radius of the wheel and the length of the track versus the speed that I determined it would be traveling at, and that's the how fast the wheels would spin. So when it moves backwards and forwards on the track, the wheels rotate properly, and the faster it moves, the faster the wheels rotate. I also added in this helper that is based on the same type of parameter, except it rotates the gear axle. Inside. What else about this one? So that's the movement. So in here, this is my master controller dummy. I have attribute holder, custom attributes, and this is linked to this here, so whenever that moves, the attribute holder goes with it. So what this does is it's just an object that simply holds all of my settings so that I can control anything that's rigged from one spot. So just I'll show the body first. Sorry, I'll make it see-through. So that's the body that's see-through. So the first option is the shock right and left position. I made them independent. My intention was to make each of these spikes here that control the wheels position to be constrained to the terrain, but it seems to always lose its wire linking when I make it a parent of something else or a child of something else. So I ended up having to do it manually. So I made it so that there's a max and min. So 70 degrees is the max, or the min I should say, and then plus 50 degrees is the max. I'm just going to hide the body for now. So you'll notice just reset I'm going to use orthographic view. Camera's a little bit nicer to move around in. So you'll notice when it moves, the shock coils, and so does the boot. Also in the knuckles at the bottom and top, and in here, they also pivot properly. And both sides work exactly the same. You can right click these to set them back to zeros. Then I have for the wheels, before I turn the body back on, I have the body or the steering angle. So that controls the steering, and again the knuckles on both sides work properly. This is the only issue that I didn't model in, is how this connects in right now. It's such a minor detail that you don't notice it unless you're looking at it very specifically, so I didn't spend the time tweaking that right now. But the one thing I would like to point out is when it's turned at it's also set for a max, so 35 degrees each way, and you can just right click that to recenter it. So when you change the shock positions, it's still in the knuckles. It will still pivot properly. You can just change your steering angle. This line here and this arrow pointing, that's basically the direction of the wheels are facing. So I tried to make it so that there's an object here, and the arrow would have a look at constraint, but whenever I put the arrow always looking at that object, the wheels would no longer look at the arrow. Currently the wheels are looking at the arrow, and that relationship would break whenever I made the arrow look at something else. So what I did was, from a top view, whenever I moved the car on the path, I always just made sure that this point was right on that center there, and the wheels always kind of were assuming the car's not doing burnouts or skidding. If it has full grip, that had a good animation there. This line was set up to be 1 to 100% path constraint, but I have not attached that yet. So now unhide the body, or I'll show the gun first. So the gun and the canopy here. So the canopy door, it's also set up as a max. So the 270 degrees, it's closed completely. And then the max up here, that's open is the default state. The turret pivots both ways, so it will you can pivot it, and it also has a min and max that I set up, and it will go 360 degrees. So for the body, with the pitch and roll, so the body can go up and down, and the wheels always stay on the ground. And the shocks, again, work. Everything is, the maximums and minimums I set up were the extremes before these connections would break. So you can have this at anything at the extreme, and you can still change your steering angles, and that would work. You still have the shocks will still work. And then you got your body roll. Come on. So you got the body roll there, and the pitch. So when I was animating this, it was basically the pitch and roll was just by eye, and then the wheels were use the shocks to manually control when the ground changes its elevation. And if it was going to do a burnout, you could manually raise the wheels, and then they're off the ground. So that's my custom rig for my car. Hope you enjoyed.